In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we are coloring conversations on the canvas of America. Tonight, our special guest is James B. Kynes. James B. Kynes is a commercial real estate broker, entrepreneur, and founder of Rushman Moore Commercial Real Estate Group, an emerging independent commercial real estate firm specializing in tenant representation and business brokerage. Known for his strategic vision and principal leadership, Kynes works alongside entrepreneurs, developers, and growing brands to secure the right location and structure for long-term success. Rooted in Atlanta and shaped by a legacy of enterprise and self-determination, James brings a sovereign mindset to everything he builds, blending purpose, positioning, and ownership into his work. His entrepreneurial journey began in the grooming industry and evolved into a mission to help others build lasting ventures through real estate and strategic guidance. He is a graduate of Project REAP 2016, the Atlanta Commercial Board's Diversity Mentorship Program 2018, and Leadership DeKalb, class of 2021. In 2023, he was selected for the CCIM Mentee Program and honored as Entrepreneur of the Year by the African American Entrepreneurial Association, where he now serves as an ambassador. His upcoming book, 10 Rules to Entrepreneurship, Answer Your Call, Live Your Dream, shares the blueprint he's used to turn vision into value and purpose into power. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring to the show Mr. James B. Kynes. Hello, sir. Hello. Hello. Mr. Kynes, are you there? I can't hear you. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give this a second. Let's try to fix the technical difficulties. Mr. Kynes is frozen and cannot, his audio and video is not working.
So can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you turn off your other?
Yeah, I'm about to turn it off. Refreshing something. All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. There we go. Okay. So as far as your bio
Can you hear me
goes,
now?
yes, sir. I can hear you. Oh, you good to go now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Voila. There we go. It's the new man's best friend, as they say.
So welcome to the show. Is there anything you'd like to add to your bio before we get into the show?
From what I can hear, you covered everything quite well from what I can understand, man. So I appreciate the opportunity to join you today, and just have a candid discussion and move forward, man. I apologize about the technical difficulties. This is you know,
Uh,
technology.
no problem. Hey, look, we getting into this summer, trying to change seasons, so all kind of stuff is going on with this
Hey, the
electronic.
energy,
Yes, sir. Um,
absolutely.
I would like to start with your entrepreneurial path and business leadership.
Okay.
Uh, can you tell us what inspired you to pursue entrepreneurship and how did that journey begin?
So entrepreneurship was actually inspired. I was inspired by entrepreneurship by my grandfather, James Smith, who was he was a scrap metal specialist in Cordia, Georgia. FY, in other words, he had a junkyard, and but he was his own boss, and he did other things outside of just moving scrap metals around the city. He kind of, one of the things I saw that he did quite well was he controlled his time. He controlled his destiny at the end of the day. I recall the time when I actually was called into entrepreneurship, and I think I opened up my first shop, first barbershop I opened up, and I asked him, I was like, what would you have done different in your path, as you grew and matured through business and entrepreneurship? And he was just like, started earlier. He was like, I would not have waited until like I was kind of forced to do it. And so he was, for me, kind of stepping out and on faith and making some things happen in that capacity. Like he was just proud of me that I took the leap and kind of took destiny in my hands to move my life forward in that direction.
Oh wow! So I guess it's safe to say that being an entrepreneur is ingrained in your DNA.
I truly believe so in some type of way, shape, form, or capacity. They say, our ancestors, they pass these things down to us. It's not unconsciously, it's very consciously. It's in our DNA, certain things. So, the leadership aspect. I think I was telling you when you and I having a conversation. I think I got an aunt. She may be watching it. she gonna find, she gonna be asking me who is Charles King, because you may be some kin to us. So we go, she may investigate you further. So we're gonna figure that out. But she's very my aunt is very, very I would say particular on just really ingrained in like that family history, like that family DNA, as far as like being very proud of who you are and where you come from your ancestors, and how certain traits that they were able to exemplify during their time of life and struggle and transition, from going from one era to another, how they were able to like persevere through those times. So just having certain things in you, this is definitely key. So I'm very appreciative of the family lineage that we come from.
Wow. So what are the biggest challenges you faced in launching your first business?
Launching my first business, the biggest challenge I think I might have faced was probably getting out of my way, which is kind of a journey struggle, because as we kind of accomplish certain goals, certain aspects, how to figure out what's next, and trying to figure out what's next. Sometimes like may not be what you think, may not be what it ideally may look like for you. Your path can definitely take you in different directions. Just kind of depending on how that frequency is calling you and what you're being called to do at the end of the day. But so I would say probably one of my biggest challenges would probably be like what most entrepreneurs face, would be the idea of having enough capital to do what you need to do at the end of the day. But I think out of that biggest challenge came my biggest accomplishment, and that was understanding that with the right faith, and if God called you to do something, He'll provide the means for you to do what you need to do. So you may not need everything that you think you may need. You just may need to have the faith to step out there and make it happen, and He'll provide the rest. And that's kind of what happened to me. So I can only speak from that capacity, because I know what I was personally dealing with when I launched my first business. So I just had to give Him the credit for opening the gateway and providing the resources for me to execute and deliver like a best in class situation. So I'm very appreciative of that.
So what was that like for your family and friends, for you to take the path that you took? Because I'm sure that there were some that did not want to become entrepreneurs or just think of business in general. How did that, what was that like for your family and friends when you launched your businesses?
So I think I got a book coming out probably by the end of the year. I'm just what I'm shooting for, called 10 Rules of Entrepreneurship. And one of the things I discuss is like the path of entrepreneurship based on like a divine calling, like something that so when I was called into entrepreneurship, like I was called to do something that I had no desire to fully do like full time. Like I was like a dream job that it was close enough to a job, but also close enough to entrepreneurship, where I had freedom to move around, but I still was working with a company that kind of had some some rules and regulations that I had to operate within, which was fine. Like that's no problem. But it was the dream job for me. It was something I had a strong desire to do, and that was working with athletes and in the business management capacity. And so I was doing that and was looking to take that to that next level. And that's when I heard a voice tell me to turn into a barbershop. And I was like, that ain't really like what I was trying to do. And when I heard the voice so emphatic, like I knew like it was something outside of myself telling me to make that move, right? And so I was obedient in the moment, and I would say reluctantly, like I actually was bucking, like it was something that I really was trying to just keep moving forward and not make the turn, but it convicted me so hard that I made the turn. I met the owner of the shop. I had a conversation with him. He had me come back and do a trial, like I think on that Wednesday, because I was, I grew up like, I started cutting like just backyard, barber, cutting with my friends, in the backyard at 12, 13 years old. Really started with my older brother. That's kind of how this like the clipper fetish began at the end of the day. But I made that turn. And the young man gave me an opportunity to start working in the shop, and I began on an apprenticeship with him. And it just kind of, propelled from there. We ended up moving to Buckhead. From there, I opened up my first shop. So it affected my family because I came out of corporate America. Like I worked in corporate America for about 7, 8 years. And so, I tell people all the time, like when when you work in corporate America, like, and you have guaranteed checks, like you can budget your life different, like, because you know like exactly how much you have coming in, so you can develop your lifestyle based on your career. Always be looking for a job to pay you more, improve your lifestyle, to save more, or whatever your goal is. But and so that was our lifestyle. Like, you know, my wife, when we first got married, like I was, you know, I was working in corporate. You know, she had a job, and so I got laid off like twice in corporate America. And the second time I got laid off, my desire was to kind of take my destiny in my own hand. Like I just didn't like, you know, I didn't mind working for someone or working in the job, but you know, for me, it was just kind of like, you build a lifestyle, you know, you create a lifestyle, you try to, you know, start a family, you want to create stability. And then, you know, someone telling you that they got to let you go, like, and now you got to scramble to find something else to replace that. And so, you know, when you work in sales, like it can be challenging, but you know, at the same time, it's life. So you have to, you know, you have to make do. And so like the funny thing for me, that the second time I got laid off in corporate, you know, I actually had got a phone call from a sports agent I was trying to work with. And so this guy called me the same day that I got laid off and was offering me the opportunity to come work with him as like a runner, and was inviting me to go out of town that same day I got laid off. So for me, I'm looking at it like, this must be happening how it's supposed to happen. Like, you know, I'm like, okay, I must supposed to have, you know, I can remember calling my wife. I told her, I was like, I got some good news and some great news. And she was like, she wanted she wanted the good news first. I was like, well, the good news is I got laid off today. And she was like, well, I don't know what some great news is behind you got laid off. But for me, the great news was I had the opportunity to go pursue something I was passionate about trying to do, and that was working with a sports agent, you know, entering into like the sports management field. And so like, so one opportunity closed, another one open. And so, you know, with that being said, like, you know, it has definitely been a roller coaster for my family. You know, starting a business and then it may not work out. You got to go back to the drawing board. You got to start over and find something to kind of keep things consistent. Like, so definitely, you know, I count it all, just, but you know, for as far as like the family is concerned, like it's definitely probably has stretch the bounds, you know, to be honest with you, because just of like, you know, no one is, you know, when you're building a brand, you building a business, and you know, you have to figure out like, you know, what you're doing and how to do it in a way that is efficient for, you know, what you have going on. You know, it can create challenges, especially like when you're dealing with things, you know. So I went from working, you know, in corporate America where like I was getting, you know, checks and commission checks, things of that nature, to going into like a situation where like I was, you know, becoming a partner in the division of a company, and they were kind of like paying me, you know, here and there on little jobs I did, to go into a barbershop. Now it's like cash accumulation. Like now I have to accumulate cash by dealing with clients at the end of the day. So I always say like that obedience like was what positioned me, like, because if I wouldn't have been in the barbershop and had a desire to get back into like the transaction world, I wouldn't be a real estate broker and operating a commercial real estate firm to this day. So at that seed in obedience is what propelled me to be in this position, you know, of operating a emerging commercial real estate firm.
So, what advice could you give to some inspiring entrepreneurs that are watching this show tonight? What are some advice you can give them for some things, that some do's and some don'ts, and some things that they probably want to look at as before they actually jump into this real big pond of fish?
Some dudes, write down your vision. You know, write down your goals. Write down what it is that you are seeing, that you're desiring to do at the end of the day. It kind of starts with kind of flushing out these ideas, because how it started it may not end up like that. So you have to get started. Like, and so that would be the number thing, is get started. A lot of times we hold ourselves up because we don't own what that getting started looks like. You know, getting started looks like. So you have to kind of identify what that is that you may, you know, have a desire to go into the business to doing. Like, again, for me, like it was like a hobby of mine that started out, that turned into something where I was able to build like a really decent clientele, as well as it propelled me into just a career field that I think has unlimited, you know, opportunity at the end of the day, being in commercial real estate. So some don'ts, I would say, I won't say don't, I say choose not to. choose not to listen to people that's trying to tell you what not to do if they haven't walked that path or been in that position at the end of the day. A lot of time people project their fears on those who they think that may, it's considered out of it comes as caring and concern, but at the end of the day it is it is someone that is projecting the fear on you about what it is that they are afraid to do because of the fear that they have that it may not work out for them. So they trying to protect you from you failing or doing something that may not work out to the level that you desire to work out. And so they're trying to protect your emotions in a caring type way. But so you have to like understand like what it is that you're passionate about, and be passionate about it so much that you can be dogmatic and tunnel vision about it to pursue it at the end of the day. So by all means, and sometimes that identifying what that call is or what it looks like, if you have no clue. Now if you're a great cook and you cooking as a hobby and everybody telling you your food good, like you might have a seed of an idea or something that you may need to find, create a niche in, if because a lot of times it may be something that we don't have a strong desire to do as a business, because sometimes if you do it as a business, again, it takes the fun. But again, on another note, to do, you never work a day in your life. So it's kind of, you got to, understand once you find that passion, find that lane that allows you to operate in that capacity, then you definitely are able to move forward and take full advantage of all the gifts that God has given you.
Okay, so can you describe a pivotal moment that shaped your philosophy as an entrepreneur?
Pivotal moment that shaped my philosophy as an entrepreneur. I would probably say one pivotal moment is probably when I had my first barbershop. I had a business partner at the time, and things went really, it was an idea that, from a creative side, I really like accepted the idea of the concept of what the shop was going to be, and kind of, staffed it and really, got it moving, and we were able to develop it and put it on the map and really, garner some attention or whatever. But at some point, within that, business relationship, it turned against me. And at the end of the day, I was left like, I was kind of put out of my own situation by a business partner. But it was like when I left, I couldn't take anything that I created with me. Like that was like that was I created the brand, I created the concept, I created like the whole layout for the most part. He financed it, and that was that was the number one thing. He was the financier. And so when it came to like doing like certain business ethical things, although we had a contract, we did have a contract, we had an operating agreement. That didn't stop the what me from him as far as the nationals and putting me out, and so it was, it wasn't what it looked. I was just, I just kind of I just held on to my faith at the end of the day, and so the pivotal moment for me at that point in time was, if you are a creator, own what you create, so that you can and if you own a brand, a creative brand, own your brand, so that whatever you do, your brand can go with you. You can maneuver your brand however you desire. At the end of the day, you can always do a joint venture with someone, and if the joint venture don't work out, you can pick your brand up and move your brand with you. But protect your brand, protect your creativity, and protect what you have been given at the end of the day. And so that was the lesson. So when I opened up the Kings of Atlanta, the Groom Lounge Spa, everything else after that, like, I own like relatively 100% of my companies, my brands, like, so however I need to maneuver with them, take them where I need to go with them, I can do that. I don't have to really ask permission for nobody to make things happen with my brands.
Wow, that's really interesting because with partnerships, I know they can go a lot of different ways. So just in this particular case, I'm assuming that you probably was a young fellow. So
Definitely got
so like at that point and the things that you were creating, especially building a brand, and when you left and you weren't able to take anything, how was he able to capitalize off the things that you had done prior to leaving?
Well, God don't like ugly. God don't like ugly, and I'm God man. So at the end of the day, like you played me, you playing yourself. So needless to say, the whole chemistry, that situation didn't work out for them. You took the key catalyst out the situation on flourish. Without it, it didn't work out that way. So needless to say, that didn't last long. I was on to my next. I was on to my next venture. The one thing I left with was my ability to create, and so I created something bigger and better than I did the first time. And so that was kind of like that was my aha. Like it didn't take off too much further after I left. But I took off, and the next thing I did, relatively took off too until we closed that until we're working on the next phase of that situation. So we thankful. We can create. That's how I figured. Like once you become an entrepreneur, you can tap into like that level of I call it like creative power. We all, what they say, we all have like a portion of, God resides in us, right? If He resides in us, then we all have an ability to create. Like things we speak, they can manifest, right? So my thing is like you really can't never fire me, because I create my own situation, and I work it from there. At the end of the day, Rushmore Moore was born that way. Like I had Rushmore Moore kind of created already before I even got my broker license, before I even put it with a real estate commission, because initially, once I finished my, the REIT program, I was looking to work for a real estate firm. That was my idea of getting some experience in the commercial industry. But that was not the plan for me. So I had already had my, back end situation created at the end of the day. So if you don't hire me, cool. I love to work with you if we can, if we fit together, if you would have me. But if not, guess what? James B. Kynes Jr. gonna go create, and we're gonna move forward from there and build from there. So tap into your power of creativity.
So how do you define success, and how has the definition evolved over time?
I'm sorry, you broke up on that question.
How do you define success, and how has that definition evolved over time?
To me, success is the ability to identify what success is to you. Success to me is one of the most relative terms in our vocabulary, because like you know you somebody with you can be somebody with $1 million and be the most unhappy person in the world. You can be somebody who have relatively no material possessions and be the happiest person in the world. Like so what are you quantifying success off of? Like at the end of the day, is it like how much material stuff I can acquire? Like how many people I can impact? Like how many people can I help grow and get to another level? Like how so I define success on because I don't really like take the material things come and go. Like you know a flood come through and wipe out everything you got materially at the end of the day. But while the flood going on, are you impacting somebody? Are you helping somebody? Are you helping somebody through that process? Like while the storm going on, are you helping somebody? You worry about your material stuff, like So it's kind of like it was funny. I just heard this quote about when Jesus told the rich man, like he say, sell all your stuff and follow me. I mean, can you like imagine like a dude like just walk up to you talking about hey man, sell all your stuff and come follow. You got a lot of like think about you got Benzes, you got a big house, you got a mansion, it's decked out with all type of nice furniture in there, and you meet a dude and dude say, hey man, go sell all your stuff and come follow me. You gotta be like, man, what are you talking about? You know how hard I work for this stuff? I ain't for like so he held on. He wanted to have meant success to him at the end of the day. And then you had the one, the other person that, they didn't really have nothing. And she gave the lady, she gave the base bottom of what she owned. And he said, man, this woman is offered the biggest sacrifice of all, because she gave everything she had. You had everything and didn't want to give nothing. Like she had nothing and gave everything. Like so. I mean, I think how it has evolved. And as you ask how it evolved, it has created monstrous society out here, to be honest with you. People worship material things to no ends. I mean, I'm no judge of men by all means, because I'm definitely not perfect, but I just like see a lot of, people do a lot of things for just material things to be perceived as successful at the end of the day. And I've heard a term, and I think we've all heard a term about, called faking it till you make it, right? Um, sometimes that term is transition. So you gotta, when you faking it till you make it, sometimes it might look like you faking it till you making it because you believe in something that is taking you to that next level at the end of the day. So now it's like, how you measuring it is so relative, because what works for one may not work for the other. And so the main thing is, surrounding yourself with those who kind of can embody the frequency that you are choosing to operate on, so that you guys can grow at that same pace. And if you helping enough people and giving back enough, like, you'll have all the other aspects of success that it looks like, that makes it look successful at the end of the day. So that's kind of my take on it.
Well, as I think of, you yourself, and I think about success and just looking and listening to where you say you was to where you are now. I mean, you are a very successful young man, because when you think about it, from where you started to where you are now, basically you have more control of an enormous amount of situations in an industry that's like more than just multifaceted, but it's all about global, just global living. I'll just put it like that. And so, with that being said, I mean, it puts you in several places. So it's like, success is definitely what you want it to be. But I can see how it's definitely evolved, because, hey, things don't just happen overnight. You got to make them happen. And you created your lane and you went through it.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. I agree with that. In the CRE space, uh, it's definitely a being an emerging firm, minority owned. Like, I think, like, one of the things that I decided and chose to do, when I interviewed with a few companies, but and I was a 2016 graduate of a program called REAP, which is a real estate associate program. I love REAP because REAP really exposes, like, individuals to, like, all aspects of commercial real estate, and it was kind of like the true game changer in what I had going on, just to expose me to, like, where I needed to, like, really position myself in the industry if I was going to segue, fully into the industry. I was a general agent for a short while, actually, and that's kind of how my path started. I didn't intend for it to begin like that, but it did begin like that. And so one of the things that working with the REIT program, the exposure and learning about, like, the different components, the different aspects, who the players are, and how to maneuver within that industry. It was very, very eye opening to what was going on. But it was also like as they say, it was a kind of equipping us to go, work for some of the other firms that were looking to, build, like, diversity in their companies, which is great. It's always great to diversify as best you can. But my take on it sometimes is like, at the end of the day, don't swap all your power for, trying to be included. Meaning that, had I went and worked for another company, maybe a major company per se, a major commercial real estate firm, would I have the ability to hire, other individuals who look like me at the end of the day? Like, and if I did, what would that look like? What would be the cap on that? But I do know, as a broker at Rushmore Moore, like, we can develop and bring on, as many qualified, agents that are looking to build their commercial business. And as we choose to, at the end of the day, like, we don't have a cap on what that looks like, but we do have, we're looking for those that are out here moving and making it happen, definitely coachable at the end of the day. But I want to swap my power for to be included. You know, I like the idea of being able to add those that look like me into the industry at you know, at our own, you know, criteria rate. You know, if we, because my thing is like we get into like this diversifying thing. We want, you know, if we want people to have a certain look, certain themselves before we bring them into the industry. Like so because now we don't, you know, we get to the point where we don't want somebody messing it up for the rest of us. That's what the overarching mindset can be sometimes. Like so now you starting to see like, you know, so much diversity that it's a beautiful thing. Like, you know, I go to certain networking events, I see, you know, sisters, I see brothers with dreads, I see sisters with their naturals. Like we all working in the commercial space in some type, shape, form, capacity, just really navigating our paths, just really looking for opportunities to work with each other, as well as expand outside of our sphere of influence to grow business in a different direction, doing transactions, you know, again, like you say, all over the world. But you know, you said the key thing was pivotal, like being able to put yourself in that position, you know, and one of the things that we've been able to do and we're working towards right now is, you know, we're MBE, DBE, so we're working towards doing more government contracting or and corporate contracting as well from those designations. And we don't know how some of those opportunities are going to shape out in the next 3 years, you know, being, you know, that we got a different situation going on running the country. But we all, hey, we still in position, you know. So the key thing is stay in position. You never know what might pop off and when it might happen for you. So we definitely like those opportunities of you know, like you say, being ready for whatever at the end of the day, and we're thankful for that.
Well, you know, I think also something that you mentioned in that response that I think is really something worth mentioning and people understanding is that you being a commercial broker in the real estate industry, I bet you can count on one hand how many brokers look like you that's on that side of real estate,
So
because that's very difficult.
so it's segueing into the space. You know, it definitely was a challenge. Again, I give Reap a lot of credit for over the last. I mean, my class was like 2016. We, you know, had a class consecutively ever since then. Um, it's done a great job, man, of really like bringing us into the fold. Atlanta in itself is, I would say, a different monster in itself, just because the demographics of our city, um, you know, kind of helps in that capacity, you know, allows us to create those types of opportunities. But let me see, let me count, let me actually count though and see how many I do know. What did you say? John, I'm at 4 right now.
Okay.
Um, I'm at 5. I'm at 6. I'm trying to figure out now. I'm stretching it to get to 7 or 8 right now. Hold on, let me think who else I might know. Because a lot of them I don't know. And then it's like you have to think like, do they own their own firm, or they, you know, brokers for, you know, another firm, you know, at the end of the day.
That's
So
the key.
so
That's the
so
key.
yeah, so that's what I'm trying to figure out. I know, so I got 6, I think, that I know that own their own brokerages, and you know, they all do well. All, you know, specializing in what they do, man. I'm proud to be a part of that circle of brokers at the end of the day.
So, in what ways has your entrepreneurial work been shaped by your identity and heritage?
What you say?
In what ways has your entrepreneurial work been shaped by your identity and heritage?
So man, my dad used to always say to us, like, growing up, you know, again, we didn't, you know, my dad was a minister. You know, he got called. Well, I was already on earth before he was called a minister. So before he got called a minister, he, you know, definitely was not a minister. Okay. But he, he used to tell us all the time, growing up, he was like, man, like, he was like, the only thing you got out here is your name and your integrity, like your name and your character. Like that was like his. If it was a theme for us growing up, like that was the theme of our growing up. Like he would always like talk to us about having character and having integrity, like, you know, and your name and your word. Like that's, without those, like you really don't have much to stand on. So for me, man, I just always have, you know, tried to do business in a way that I like to do good business. Like I like to sleep. I like to sleep well, knowing I didn't get over on somebody, or I tried to play somebody, or I, you know, tried to, you know, take advantage of somebody in that type of way. And so it has allowed me, I think, to create a type of clientele, like, you know, both, you know, with the grooming side, both as well as with my the entrepreneurs we work with. You know, it helps create a level of trust that I think creates the longevity of relationships that I think, you know, helps us sustain in business at the end of the day. Um, I mean, am I perfect? By all means, no. But you know, do I, you know, enjoy, like, definitely, you know, trying to do the best I can, you know, to make sure that everything is on the up and up by involved. I absolutely do. And so I think transparency, having a keen sense of self-awareness, of, you know, just kind of who you are and whose you are at the end of the day, kind of guides those principles in that regard. You know, I had a tagline for my grooming lounge at Spa, that said, you know, do you see a man that's diligent in his business? He should stand before kings and not of obscure men. And that's Proverbs 22 and 29. And that was just one of those things, like, you know, regardless of what you do, just be diligent at it. And like the elevation is gonna come if you are diligent at doing what you do. Like, and if you do it with some uprightness, with some integrity, like, you know, you'll be in rooms with, like, you'll be trying to figure out how you got in the room. But you know, your character, your integrity, like how you handle yourself, you know, your business acumen, you know, some of those things are gonna outweigh your talent. Some of those things are gonna outweigh your money. Like, there's a lot of people with money, they not good people. Like, I ain't judging them, but you know, a lot of people with money feel like they can talk to you any kind of way or deal with you any kind of way. Like they feel like, almost feel like they own you or they can buy you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So you know, people, I think, put too much power in that, but you know, it's neither here nor there with me. But I just think that's one of the guiding core principles that I think, you know, we grew up with, and I think I try to live my life by for the most part.
Let's transition over to commercial real estate and community impact.
Okay.
What initially drew you to the commercial real estate field?
What drew me to commercial real estate was the actual. So let me take that back. So I used to, one of my first jobs I had was I sold Kirby vacuum cleaners, like door to door. Like that was business to consumer, right? When in corporate America, I did I did business to business, which was I sold office equipment from I was talking to C-level individuals, or CEOs, CFOs, those individuals, about their office equipment needs. And so I got an idea of, different ways of doing business, whether it was business to consumer or business to business, right? Now fast forward, like I would say my first client per se in the management world was like my best friend. And he was a performing artist, who I was freshman year of college. He kind of tapped me to like be his manager. And so that kind of started that path. So that's kind of what a bug of entrepreneur kind of kicked in, because I knew I always wanted to be one. I just didn't know exactly what that lane looked like. So he kind of pushed that lane. He kind of nudged the lane for me. So as I progressed, and again, it transitioned over to me working with the sports management firm, and then then I got caught in the barbering. And at the time I was looking, when I was working with the sports management firm, I was looking to firm up my credentials, so that I had more credibility as I was out recruiting and doing that thing. And I had a degree already, and I worked in corporate, but I needed something else that kind of bridge the gap, as far as the core competency of what we were doing for these guys, as far as like helping them really like create and set up entities that position them to prepare themselves for, after their plan days were over with. So So as I was barbering, and I was trying to I was putting deals together from behind the chair. I had clients that came in, they were investors. I had clients came in, they had their own businesses. They were looking for each other. I was a catalyst and facilitator for those transactions. And my wife at the time asked me like, how was I gonna get paid from these transactions? And so I think it was like, my idea was I get paid similar to how I got paid doing any type of transaction, percentage of the overall transaction. And a friend that was an attorney, and some kind of way they were talking about that aspect of hustling that I was doing from behind the chair. And the friend suggested that it sounded like I was trying to do business brokerage. And business brokerage at the time was something that I never heard of. But she introduced me to some clients of hers, and they were business brokers. And as they began to describe like what the core competency was of what business brokerage looked like, it was spinning in my head like, yeah, that's the niche. That's a niche for me. I think I like that idea of that niche, because business brokerage was an adjunct function of commercial real estate. So our conversation ended with them telling me I had to get my real estate license, and so I ended up doing that. And so I got my real estate license with the idea of I'm moving into doing business brokerage. Now, it didn't start out like that. Once I got my license, I actually ended up working with a firm who was a boutique residential firm, which, kind of it put me down a long path of getting back over into like fully being able to do commercial, to be honest, because, commercial firms hire different than residential firms. Like, so if you get your real estate license, you can go interview at a residential firm, and most of them probably pick your license up and hang your license. You pay your office dues, agree to your commission splits, and you keep moving from there. For a major commercial firm, they have more of it's more silo, so they're looking for more specific niche individuals, like um, so as although we do tenant rep brokerage and business brokerage at Restaurant More, like we're relatively business agnostic, so I can kind of work with whoever is qualified, who is qualified, and I can qualify to get into a situation. And so I can span out of rep broker. I can still do landlord broker work. I can list properties. All this stuff I can still do. It's just our lane, shifted us into like working more with the business owners and entrepreneurs at the end of the day. So moving into commercial for me was just like natural because I enjoy doing business to business. I love the analytics of it. As an entrepreneur, I've been through like the ups and downs, the emotional side of entrepreneurship, the gains, the losses, the creativity side, the kind of, you got to pick yourself back up and go back through it. How it can uplift you and drain you at the same time. So tenant rep for me was like the language that I knew I could speak that language well because I lived in that world at the end of the day. And getting in commercial for me was like, it was the overall plan. It was the overall goal. I just kind of took a different, I had to go a different path to get here. But again, like in 2016, like their REAP program, I can't really speak enough about it. It really changed the course of what's going on because I had taken a couple of commercial classes before, so I was familiar with some of the terminology, some of the functionalities. But REAP just kind of it really like opened up the network in a different capacity, which really allowed us to kind of continue to congregate with each other and really fellowship with each other so that we can kind of, hold each other accountable to like the things that we say we want to do as far as being trailblazers and game changers in this industry at the end of the day. So that's kind of how the path has, just definitely moved to where we're just, man, we humping, we pushing out here, and we trying to make it do.
So, how has your work in real estate intersected with the efforts towards economic empowerment?
How much I work in real estate, and I think that they go hand in hand. I think one of the challenges that we're constantly overcoming is the access to capital within our community, and then like on top of access to capital, being paired to access to capital, like so if I could if I for example take you to SBA center and we sit down, we had to go through things to get you prepared to get to the capital that you may have access to now because you know the right people. Working with the African American Entrepreneurship Association, like that's a game changer in our in what we're doing as far as like helping individuals like really get access to capital at the end of the day. But before we can get the capital, what we run into a lot of is the preparation, having your entities together, having your tax IDs, having your Dun and Bradstreets, making sure that you got your address at a certified locations. Make sure you have like a phone number that is verifiable. Those small things that getting people together on that aspect so that we can get to the capital. Like and that's like the piece of education that I think is has to continue to be pushed because there's too many talented people out here that have great ideas, that have great concepts. And we have to be able to encourage them to push past like the surface level of just thinking that if I do it, my family gonna support me, enough that I'm gonna sustain and grow a business just based on my cousins and aunts and uncles like buying from me at the end of the day. Like my friends, like no, you have to be able to expand yourself outside of your initial sphere. That takes a lot of preparation. It takes a lot of positioning, but you have like you have to see yourself beyond that point to make that happen.
Can you share a project that you're especially proud of and why?
So, so for me, like that for that question, so this is actually an individual, but this individual, he's a client of mine. Um, I don't consider him a project, but I will say that I enjoy our relationship because he's someone who has kind of walked this path with me from all aspects of like what I do. Like, he started as a client who I was grooming him. I was kind of, but he, was younger than me. He was a very smart guy. And I had some other ancillary brands outside, of my grooming company that dealt with more like men, imaging, wardrobe, stuff like that or whatever. So this young man like really like began to like, embody like all aspects of what we were doing from a male grooming side. Um, Actually ended up helping him. I assisted same way I facilitate stuff from behind. I was facilitating things from behind the chair. I put him in touch with a guy that I knew that was looking for someone with his skill set. Put him in another position, kind of increase his income. So I saw him begin to like grow professionally. Then he began to grow like overall. So then like he came to me about helping him find his first house. So we found him a house, his first house. It was a great deal. I told him at the time he bought the house. If you buy that house, you stay here long enough, you'll make over six figures if you stay in his house. So lo and behold, he bought the house. It was a condo. He stayed in it over almost 10 years, maybe about 10 years. So when the market was at its peak, is when him and his wife, they decided they were ready to sell that house. They were ready to buy a new house. And when he sold that house, what I told him was going to happen, happened. And so we were able to put him in like something else. But just that for me, like someone like him kind of like is the example for me, like your purpose is for real. Like you here to like not just impact people one way, like you're able to like maneuver with individuals in multiple capacities, and do it in a very efficient and professional way at the end of the day. And so he kind of helped me really understand like division wasn't a joke, division wasn't a fluke. Like it's people that desire to be around and be in situations or be around opportunities where like they can grow in more ways than one. And so I often feel like even now, like I still got clients I deal with, even though I'm pretty much 100% commercial real estate. I still have clients I see because we just have those relationships. Like these are not like I'm not randomly out here looking for new clients to deal with from a grooming side, but I do have individuals who we have a relationship that although it's grooming involved, it's more like life coaching. It's more like accountability sessions, in a way that we keeping each other empowered to move forward at the end of the day. So it's a beautiful thing.
What is the most important lesson you've learned about navigating property deals and development?
Do your research and get the right professionals on your team. That's
Okay.
that will I mean, I used to put that in a nutshell, like that's gonna save you time, money, and headache. Just having the right people around to help facilitate the process to get you in the right position to take you to that next level. Um, I've seen it where, like, people, when you're dealing with mom and pop, from an entrepreneurship level, again, we're dealing with access to capital, and we're dealing with people with possibly limited resources. Like, so it's almost like they have to make it work because, like, this they put all their eggs in one basket. Like, I love it, you know what I'm saying? But it's risky. And so I think when you put the right people around you, they help you really navigate that process in a way that it helps you avoid some of those costly mistakes at the end of the day, that help you sustain business moving forward. So we that aspect of coaching clients, that aspect of dealing with clients to kind of get them on that same page, that's challenging sometimes because people think like they know the best way, but it's like, well, you do what you do, right? We do what we do. All right, so let us do what we do. If we asking for something, like, we got a reason we asking for it. Like, you know, I tell people, like, when I talk to clients for prospects, for example, like, and they want me to start searching for a space for them, I have to start quantifying, like, are you really ready for a space? And not to say that I don't think you're a good business person, but, like, are you prepared to make this move? Like, do you have 3 months of do you have a security deposit, a first month, last month in the bank? Do you have a year of resources in the bank to show when they ask for financials? Do you have your tax returns done for the last 2 3 years? Like, these are stuff
Yeah.
that you're gonna have to present for most landlords during the application process, right? So a lot of times, like, I'm not you hire me to work on your behalf. So if I need these things, we need these things. Like, I think one of the things I ask, like, do you have a marketing one sheet? Just it's like a resume for your landlord reps about who you are and what you bring to the table. Like, I like to be able to send them some information so that they can see visually, like, who you are. Like, and oddly enough, man, sometimes it's like pulling teeth trying to get that stuff done. But it makes the process easier. It positions you as a company, as an organization, like, a lot. It puts you in a position of strength, because now it looks like you have your business together. Like, you can be a startup and still look like you have your business together, and a landlord may rock with you, even though you may be rocky from a financial perspective, because they like your concept. Like, so a lot of times people think, like, oh, I got so much money, I got money, 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 money. Like, money is not always a key leverage indicator in commercial real estate, and that's kind of a hard pillow to swallow for some people because they pride themselves with how much money they got. But it's not all the indicator on if a landlord will choose you or not choose you to go into a space. So I've actually seen it where, like, a client was a little less financially stable, but they had a really dope concept, and they won out over somebody who probably had more money than them, right? And so it happens. Like, so you just have to operate in your faith and operate, through faith that what's for you is going to be for you at the end of the day.
You know something before I go on, you said something that that kind of like falls into a question I've always had for people here in Atlanta.
Okay.
When I first moved here, okay, I've never seen so many people that have not done taxes for like 4 and 5 years and they want to get them done at one time. What is that? Is that like just an Atlanta thing?
Man, them people, yeah, I'm be putting that. Them people don't move here. A lot of people handle their business. You just got them out of towners, man. That's what that is. They
I was
moved here.
like,
You
oh
moved
my
here.
God.
Look, they obviously didn't have good tax representation from where they were from, but we grew up around professionals. Like, I grew up in Decatur, man. Our parents were professionals. Like, we sat with our parents around the table doing their taxes at the end of the day. So we know about doing our taxes. That's them out of town from them
Boy,
other places, man. That ain't
I
us. Don't put that on us. Don't
And
come here projecting that on us.
it still happens. And
I
so,
believe it.
now it's just a norm now. So it's like, okay, hey, I need to do 3 years worth of taxes. When the last time you filed? Well, I really don't remember.
They want you to wear that. They want you to wear that magic, man. They want you to wear magic. Then they want a big refund. Like, you got to go
No.
and find the write-offs for them. Like, yeah, I get it, man. They ain't from Atlanta though. They from out of town, man.
So let's move over to mentorship and leadership.
Okay.
Who were some of the key mentors in your life, and what did they teach you?
Key mentors in my life. So we start my father. I stated my father already, like elements of manhood, character, integrity, just perseverance, being able to see that up close, commitment, obedience to a call, like, witnessing that up close. So I had to give my father, like, number one position in that regard. Second would be probably my high school coach, Coach Godfrey, legendary Hall of Godfrey, like 2, 3 Hall of Fames. We from Coach we learned toughness. We learned pride. We learned an unstoppable aptitude to win. To prepare to win at the end of the day. The teamwork component, like, is what, one of the things, and just to really have a strong brotherhood with the individuals that you are with. Like, so I would say definitely Coach Godfrey. I would say number 3, probably be a young man named Dr. Johnny Battle. Dr. Battle was somebody who when I did my internship at Warner Brother Records. And it's funny, like Dr. Battle and I always laugh. He's like 10 years my senior, so he's like my big brother. But our paths are so parallel, in that his father was a minister. He played football, so it's funny for him. Like, when I was doing my internship, he was a originator in Atlanta hip hop. He was a founding member of an Atlanta hip hop group, a classic group. But so at the time I met him, he was running the A&R department while I was interning. But I learned enterprising from him. Like, he really showed me how to enterprise, how to kind of like operate in creativity, how to maneuver through different lanes and different platforms, being multifaceted. Dr. Battle was somebody who now is a doctor, a Wharton Business School graduate. Definitely has become a powerhouse in the executive world and corporate, even though he has like true entrepreneurial prowess about himself. He definitely operates in that capacity. But he's someone who definitely showed me like how to operate, in principle, with creativity, moving and maneuvering through different lanes. And our fourth will be who gave me opportunity to start working in his shop, dude named Ernesto. Nesto showed me the real hustle of working, like, hand to mouth when it comes to like barbering at the end of the day. Showed me how to the ideas I had for my own shops. Like, he was someone at that time who really, created these environments, these theme type shops. We had a 24-hour barbershop in Buckhead that we opened up and operated for years. Like, I think they still have a 24-hour shop that he kind of created that concept. And so from that platform launched me opening up my shops. It gave me opportunity to truly move into entrepreneurship. And I say that call is really what made that happen. So I would say those four gentlemen, I would say off the top, and there's definitely some other men in there, but definitely those individuals I would say that's probably my Mount Rushmore of mentors in my life.
So why is mentorship such a central part of your work?
Again, like these guys I just mentioned, like they kind of showed me, like, it's always great to give back to a willing mind, like someone that's willing to learn, someone that's willing to grow, someone that's willing to, take advantage of opportunities that are presented to them, and do it in a great fashion. It's funny because like my dad probably be like the only one I think probably like had true belief in me from the start. The other guys I think they developed it over learning me at the end of the day. My guy who I started in the barbershop with, it's funny, he placed a wager with he wouldn't last long in the barber industry. He lost that bet, but anyway, so Dr. Battle, I remember Dr. Battle. The funny thing about him, uh, when I was interning and kind of going through a transition stage with him, I would ride all the way out to Fayetteville just so I can kind of like just be around him or whatever. Man, dude, to have me just standing at the door waiting for him to open up the door. Like I don't know what he was in the house doing, but I'd be out there just waiting. He'd be to have me outside. Like I'd be like, I ain't going nowhere. Like I'm here, so I'm out here. I ain't going nowhere. So, Cole Godfrey just a different. He's just different. Like he's built so many men, and but just a level of toughness. Like it's one of the things. Like if you find a way that he'll gravitate to you, then you did something right. And so I mean, I'm thankful that we were able to produce some winning situations out there with my teams that we played for growing up. But my dad was like that one that I think probably had the most belief in me from the start. So yeah, it was challenging. Those humps.
How do you approach mentoring the next generation of leaders?
I'm kind of a tough mentor because those guys that raised me look like tough mentors too. So I think like definitely like in like the commercial the real estate field is just being able to pour back and finding those right opportunities. Like for me, so I coach myself. I coach youth football, my son team growing up, so I'm still around those guys. So I think like mentorship, it expands beyond just like your career field. Like it's about being community based and being involved in the community, so that you show these guys like different options, career field, and able to touch them. So just kind of being out in the community, is a key part towards mentorship and making sure that you're reaching the new age, because that, they different. Like, they got nicknames for us now. We up now. Like, so you got gray in your face, you got silver in your face too. You might be Papa, you might be up. You know what I'm saying? like you gotta. It's like when you hear that, like being able to embrace that with them and know that if they endearing you with those terms, they trying to get something from you, not money. They trying to get some gain from you. They want to hear something from you. Like I done been to a gas station, where like you might ordinarily like clutch your wallet and make sure you you protect it before you walk in, and they sit there and they like, hey, what's up? Like they want to talk to you about the product they trying to sell or whatever. Man, they just want some game. Like, they want game. They want that level of, wisdom from us when they see that silver in our face, man. Like it's something different. So, being able to, alter how you do that, being able to be flexible on what that looks like is, it's important because you got, man, to be honest with you, a lot of older guys, man, they walk past them guys, man, they don't act like they don't want to be bothered with these young cats because they in their mind they think like these young cats don't want to be bothered. But I beg to differ. I think they desire to be bothered. They just want to be related to in a way that they're understood and not judged. Like, and if we can get out the judgment realm, we can learn something about them. They can learn something about life, and hopefully that can help them put some of these pistols down, and operate in a realm of creativity where they change. You just never like a three-man, that's standing outside trying to sell water might you don't know how that might keep a seed you have planted in him that might help him change his life at the end of the day. So man, I'm way bigger. I'm bigger than just like let me go mentor a kid that's in college, because he's trying to get a good career path. Like that's cool too. But I'm about really like, I might pull up and holler at the young, as they call them, young jit, or they say they got turned to, they call them YNs, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I call them YKs though, because I like to call them young kings. You know what I'm saying? That's what I call them. I pull up on them, what's up, YK? They be like, YK, what that is? I be like, man, bro, you're a young king, man. What you talking about? Oh, appreciate that, appreciate that, like, yeah, like, what you got going on out here? And they start having conversation, and you figure out what's going on. And like, when you give them a word of encouragement, man, it was funny. Like, funny you mentioned it. I had a young kid, I'll say young man. I'm sorry. I had a young man. I pulled up at a gas station one day to get some gas. Like, it was in the city over off the north side. I had on my Rushmore Moore polo shirt, right? I got the logo embroidered on my polo. And so, man, he asked me, he was like, he said, so you do real estate, huh? He was like, man, I'm interested in getting into real estate. He was like, what you think I should do? I was like, well, do you know, what you trying to do? Like, what aspect of real estate you trying, just start asking some preliminary questions or whatever. And so he ended up telling me that he was just finished culinary school. He can cook. He was a chef. And so, my thing was like, why you not really pursue that? That's if you invest so much time. And his answer to me was like, as far as he was concerned, they weren't producing revenue enough for him. And so my answer to him, my response to him was, at that time, was like, well, you ain't gonna be able to jump in the real estate thing. You're gonna just make money like that. Like, you're gonna have to, it's a whole different ball game over here. Like, as far as generate revenue on something consistent. Like, I'm like, you got something that, everybody got to eat and everybody like to eat. So if you're good at that, that's something that can put money in your hand every day. And so I was urging him, like, figure out a way to be creative with what you have going on, so that you can feed yourself daily while pursuing the goal of becoming a real estate agent. I didn't want him to think that just because you jumped in when you got your real estate license and you hung your license with someone, that success was going, the transactions and success was going to be overnight, like, and it was going to replace what you were doing currently, like. So, but it was just the thing that how he stopped me to have a conversation. And, for me, it was like, I'm gonna have a conversation with him at the end of the day, because he was hungry for the knowledge at the end of the day. And I had it to give him. And so I was cool with sitting there having a conversation with him. And I don't know, how he's moved forward, if he, took it in stride, or, kept moving, I don't know. But I know I sowed the seed that day. And I think, like, if us as older OG, as they call us, unks and pops and all that, man, we got to take time to alter how we mentor and how we reach out to these young men. I'm excited to, be working with a group called the Eagle Economic Organization, where they got a group of young men that are looking to learn about development. And their head queen, Dr. Maya Taylor, she to build actual development, finding the right space, the right location, and putting together the right team of individual who's willing to come and, again, share their expertise with these young men at an early age, so that they can create something that can hopefully be sustainable, but also get them exposure into the industry, that it can alter all of their career paths at the end of the day. So just stepping out the fray, being creative and looking for those opportunities, I think is important, as far as mentorship is concerned to me.
Mm. So what have you learned from those you've mentored?
What have I learned from those I mentored? Man, I think, what I learned from those I mentored, I think definitely that's a good question. What have I learned from my mentees? I think I learn every time I take on a mentee, I learn how to, how to become brand new. How to,
That's interesting. That's interesting.
I learn how to understand, like, you don't have to know it all. right? Like you don't have to have all the answers. Um, it's something about that, enthusiasm of just trying to get your business moving, just trying to get it started, trying to get in the right positions, that it often reminds me of the path that we've journeyed. And so it kind of keeps you refreshed, in a sense. So I might have someone I mentored years ago, um, you know, in a career strides, and I'm always like grateful. It's showing me that it's okay to reinvent yourself. It's okay to try new things, and it's okay to, sow those seeds in someone, and watch them and let them go and watch them flourish and walk and watch they and move within their path at the end of the day. So that reinvention thing, I think, is always key, because they always bring stuff new to you that make you, when they bring ideas, you have to think about the best way to kind of consult with them to, make it the best way. And sometimes, like, that best way is telling them to pursue it how they seeing it.
That's interesting. I've actually had the opportunity to speak with lots and lots of young men. I always have the positivity, the words of encouragement, to keep them going or uplifted or whatever have you. But the thing that I've found, which I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I know it's just kind of like something that maybe just natural, but it's like having to continue to get the follow up, because I always say, if I'm going to invest my time, I need to know that you're vested. And so,
And that's why I say I'm a tough mentor. I agree with you on that. Now the mentees these day and ages, some kind of way think that you're supposed to be calling them more and they supposed to be calling you. Like, and that, again, like, when I was a mentee, with Dr. Ballard and some of these other folk, man, I'm talking about, I'd be outside, sitting outside the porch. I'm so thankful for them. The neighbors ain't called, neighborhood watch stuff, because I'm sitting out there. I'm like, man, you got it. I don't care how long I gotta wait. I sit out here. I be in my car. I go out here, come knock on the window when you're ready. But you got something for me today, and I'm coming to get that. So it ain't that physical. It ain't that material. You got some wisdom for me today. You got some knowledge for me. I need to come get that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but now, like, if you ain't calling them, like, they think you supposed to be pursuing them like they clients or something. Like, hey, bro, I got the game. What you talking about? Like, if I got to call you and give you the game, then we need to move to a coaching program, right? Like, not a mentee program. We need to be in a coaching situation. Like, and then at that point, you're gonna swipe the credit card. So I'm definitely not calling you to come to your own session that I'm gonna have set aside for you. I ain't gonna call to remind you if you do that. Like, so that has been a difference that I've noticed. Like, and then it's like, they want to tell you what they want you to teach them. This is what I want you. I need to tell me. This is what I want you to teach me. Okay, do we have this situation in play right now? Because me just talking about this as walking through it like two different monsters. Like, I'd rather be walking through a situation and giving you practical experience at it than hypothetically telling you something. I can do that, though, that make you feel good, but that ain't why. That's not what I desire to be doing at the end of the day. But yeah, it's different. They move a little different, though. I will say that.
and so, when we got a chance to chat, I told you that we do Black History 365.
Okay.
And when I asked you who was the most influential person in your life and your career, when it comes to Black history, you said it was your father. And can you tell us, you said your father has been described as one of the most influential figures in your life. Can you describe that impact?
I think that impact for me probably been just definitely trying to be a great father myself. My father was like he was kind of like the community daddy, and he was a young father. Like this, not and not now. I don't. Now that I'm a little older, I kind of can see the appeal because, like, you know, him, and my mom, they started really young. They started young. My older brother and I. So now that I look back on it, he was kind of like for some of them kids, he was like old enough to be like their big brother. He was old enough to be their daddy, but he was mature enough to kind of like have influence. Like so, like he grew up like we grew up like he was over the Boy Scouts in our community. Like so, we had kind of like the house where all the kids kind of gravitated to, and like this like for him it continued like pre pastoral life and then post calling. He still became like the everywhere we moved, he was kind of like the cool dad. Like, even though he was a preacher, like he was a cool preacher dad. Like, all our friends kind of like gravitated to him as well. So I think like just being able to give back to others in that way, even if they're not my kids, just being able to give back in a way that, I love you like my son. Like, you know what I mean? I grew up seeing that with him because he really like embraced like the other kids in the community wherever like we moved to. Like we moved a couple of times. Like moved to Georgia, kind of named that created a Cub Scout Boy Scout chapter up at the church. Grew up in Cordell. My first years I grew up was in Cordell, Georgia, which is in South Georgia. Like he was like that guy in the neighborhood. So like before I was really around like any other guys that really were able to relatively influence me that way. Like, I didn't, I played baseball growing up. But those coaches, like, they were cool, but they weren't cool like him to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I say probably Coach Godfrey would probably be the one of the coaches for me, because Coach Godfrey was kind of like a second father in a different way. And some of the things that he taught, like as far as just principles of teamwork and pride and things of that nature. But I mean, it was just a different. It was a good experience. I think a different experience. For us, like to have that. For me, I think to acknowledge that. At the end of the day, I don't think like. Shoot, man, you see it. Cats get drafted, cats get music awards and everything else. For they like they shout out their mama. So daddy don't really, pops don't really get that kind of positioning. You know what I mean? In the larger scheme of things, for the most part, right, wrong, and different. But I think for me, like, they started young again, as I state, and he could have been one. Shoot, man, he could have been a sperm donor. Like it been gone in the wind. Like at the age they were, he could have been gone. But I think one of the things that he tells us all the time was like he just did not have the vision of somebody. I think for me like to this day at the end, and that's a powerful influence for me.
So, how did your father's values shape your understanding of Black history and its relevance today?
Man, so I laugh at that question because this man here. I don't know if my dad is watching this or not, but I got to tell this story, bro. Like, so I was in the third grade, right? I think I was in third or fourth grade, and there was Black History Month at my elementary school, right? And I was at Avondale Elementary, right? And so my dad had bought me this little guitar, right, to start learning how to play the guitar or whatever. And so for like Black History Month, we had like this Black History program at my elementary school. So, the teachers had this great idea that they wanted me to sing this song, right? It was a cowboy song. So the thing was supposed to be like a black cowboy, right? So the song I was singing was it was called "The Girl with the Strawberry Hair." And so they had me on stage serenading this song to this white girl who had red hair. Um, so so you gotta think that my dad at this time, and I was like, he's at ITC, which is the International Theological Center, for school. Like, bro is in his like pinnacle of Black history. He's at the pinnacle of his Black empowerment phase of his life, being at ITC, right? Learn like this. It's so hot about this situation. Like he grabbed me, like I didn't know why he snatched me like to leave the PTA meeting so fast when we got up out of there, right? But I realized later on he told me, like, he was like, bro, I was about to really hurt some people in there for that what they had you doing. Like that really bothered him. Like, I didn't realize the impact of it until later on. But because first it's Black History Month, and then he's like, I know y'all ain't got my son up here singing this song to this girl, like doing Black History Month. Like he was at the pinnacle. So that kind of like that was one of the funny stories. But it shaped it though. The other aspect that how he played a role. Like he introduced us to early on a man named Asa Hilliard. I don't know if you're familiar with Asa Hilliard, but Asa Hilliard was an Egyptologist who studied Egypt, and he came and taught. He taught about the history of Egypt, the pyramids, things of that nature. That was like the first time I was exposed to like African history in that capacity. And it's like ever since then, like ever since he brought Dr. Hilliard down to speak to us, like I just had like an infinity of understanding our history. So like I think I told y'all. So like my father was like part of the influence, but as I continue to grow, like I learned about like the Moors Empire, and like how they influence like history. That really like impressed upon me as well, just like how to kind of take pride in who you are and know that you operate in a sovereign capacity to take over and conquer land and improve the land and take it over and take it to that next level, which is part of the etymology of our name, Russian. We wanted to get homage to that aspect of our at the end of
Okay. So what stories from your father's life continue to fuel your work and mission?
Part of his life, I would say, I'm gonna give you his number and let you interview him too. He's dynamic as well. To his own story, yeah. But no, man. So my dad, just the self journey, that he's experienced. A brief part of his history is my dad was adopted within our family, at birth, and so he kind of grew up. He grew up with his actual cousin, his mom, his father. He grew up playing, with family reunions and stuff with his actual brothers. At the time, he thought they were his cousins and stuff. So, around that same time at ITC is when I think he had the conversation with my grandmother about just unleashing this, kind of, okay, let's take the veil out the secret. Like he didn't want to keep living like that. And so being able to see him from that phase of self, that aspect of the veil being taken off, him being able to actually meet his actual father, at almost 30 something years old, like finally met his father. That, seeing him really like mature. I saw it change him as a father because I think he became more whole as a man. At the end of the day, he was able to kind of fill in like he was able to fill in gaps within himself. Better, more aware of who he was. At the end of the day, I think like a lot of times when we grow up, like we don't have like certain pieces, like of our parents and, certain history, like certain aspects that we can, it's hard for us to get those identity pieces because we just don't have them. They haven't been assessed to us. So it's like you say, it's in our DNA. So part of our DNA is actually searching for this. Like it's asking to be released at the end of the day. But it's also like, it's almost like a phone charger, right? You got, you still have to plug in, right? So if you don't have like those conversations with your family members to understand like how some of these dynamics are playing out in your life, you kind of like the DNA there, but it's not plugged in. Like, so you can't get the full picture of what that looks like. So you kind of grow up like not having that full picture of who you may be through like your heritage at the end of the day. And so we were blessed that, he was able to really rekindle with that side of his family. That's the King side as well. And we were able to really learn like that aspect of our history, and grow from that capacity. But watching, witnessing that growth aspect for him, man, you're gonna make me write the man autobiography.
But your father definitely sounds like a fascinating individual.
Man, you need to go on and probably put him on, man. He do podcasts too. Him and his wife got a podcast too that they do. So they might bring you on or vice versa. He he definitely has his own platform, that's for sure.
Right. Last question for you. Did your father influence your career choices or the way you lead?
Nah, he ain't influenced. That was well, I'm okay. Well, yes and no. Let me say that. The career choice was influenced by him. As far as the barbering side, that was kind of flukish. Because so my dad used to cut our hair. My brother and I had growing up. He just kind of decided he wasn't taking us to no barbershop no more. He got him some clippers and started cutting our own hair. So it got to the point where like my older brother solicited me one day and pulled at me to come and cut his hair one day. And I was like, well, you don't really know what I'm doing. And his reason for doing it was he said, well, I don't care, man. I just don't want daddy to do it. I was like, well, I just want daddy to cut my hair. Hey, oh, okay, whatever. So, I was the adventurous one. I probably wore more whoopings than all of my siblings. So I went I went where my dad had his clippers hid. I pulled them out, and lo and behold, I chopped my brother's head up. It was an awful thing. Which is funny to me because my sons ain't tore each other head up yet. And I got 10 times more clippers than my dad had. And they ain't went out there and picked them up and tried to cut each other hair at all. Like I don't know. I can't call that one. But so that experience with starting my brother is kind of what started the whole clipper thing. So he kind of influenced that aspect. So with that being said, had I not ever picked the clippers up, I would never probably have been called into barbering. And had I not been called into barbering, I wouldn't be in the real estate industry right now. But so it was a seed per se. But getting into like real estate and being in real estate, that was a God divine thing. That placed my skill set.
Okay. So, in closing, what are some words of wisdom and encouragement that you have for our audience, as well as how they can connect with you on social media, how they can visit you at your website and learn more? What are some of those things you'd like for them to know?
Words of wisdom. In entrepreneurship, answer your call, live your dream. What that looks like. It looks like being in your lane, being in what you are divinely called to be doing in life at the end of the day. It's a lot of opportunities. It's a lot of people that are coming to you with different things to do. You should try this, you should try that. Ultimately, you have to find what that call is that you have been designed to do and put here to actually fulfill your purpose here in this on this planet. If you need assistance, like elevating your concept, there are professionals out here who can help you, like, create your brand identity, who can help you create websites, things of that nature. But all in all, tap in. And if you don't know who to reach out to, reach out to us. I'm an ambassador for the African American Entrepreneurship Association. We have some resources that we can put you in touch with to help get you prepared, to get you access to capital, to also, push your brand to that next level. When it comes to commercial real estate and spacing and finding and site selection and things of that nature, by all means, we would love to help position anyone who has a great idea or unique concept the best way we can. We're able to operate in any capacity. As far as the brokerage is concerned, we can find your office space, retail space, industrial space, land. If you have a business for sale, we can help you sell the business. To acquire business, so we can help you find that business as well, negotiate the deal, facilitate the process at the table. If you definitely want to follow us, you can find us on all social media fronts. I'm at James B. Kynes, that's Kynes Jr., and it's that across the board. You can also follow our brand. It's Rushman Moore, REG. That's RUSHMAN, Moore, MOORE. REG as in real estate group. Man, I love for you to follow us. I love for you to definitely stay tapped into what we have going on. We have a podcast too that we're launching called Commercial Conversation Series, where we actually be talking to like business owners and entrepreneurs about their journey, about their site selection processes and things that they've done in order to sustain themselves, what endeared them to certain communities that they are part of, how they're sustaining in those communities, how they give back to those communities, things that have transpired along their career path, their journey, things that help you expose you to just different opportunities and give you the insights to navigate the path of entrepreneurship that you have for yourself as well. So man, we definitely appreciate the opportunity to spend time with you today, Charles. I don't know my aunt looking, but she might be trying to go have you pull out that family tree so she can try to cross-reference to see if we some kin somewhere. And if you are cousin, I'll see you at our next family reunion.
Yes, sir. I want to thank you for taking the time, to be here and to deliver some positive news and encouragement for our audience, because we are about community, and community is where it's at. Because again, that's our whole specialty. Everybody can watch the show, but our goal is to connect and build, expand, and grow our communities. Because the resources are definitely lacking, but reaching back and doing what's necessary is where it's at.
Absolutely.
So for those of you that are watching the show tonight, again, this was another great show, and you got to hear James talk about not only how his career path started as an entrepreneur, but where he is right now. What he has epitomized for us tonight is what success looks like. So success is what you want it to be, but how you also operate in that space. So just think about this. As a commercial real estate broker, and he is a man of color, there are definitely not an enormous amount of people in that industry that can fit the space that he fits in, because he is one that has his own firm. So in other words, success is not determined by monetization, but a success is determined by what you put into it and what you feel like. This is what I want it to be, and I want to make it this way. So that's what he has just shown each and every last one of us tonight. So I suggest that each and every last one of you reach out and learn some things, as to how things are, how you want things to be, and learn a little bit more about his journey. Because again, when we see people that look like us that are doing things that we like, a lot of times we don't know how to do that, but he just left the contact information for you. So I want to say, as you guys watch the show tonight, for those of you that have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, I would ask that you please take the time to subscribe and get all of the notifications, for you can watch this show again as many times as you like, as well as all of the other previous recorded shows. because I can guarantee you that each and every show here on America in Black and White is definitely a teaching moment for each and every individual, for all of our communities to grow and expand. So I want to thank you all again tonight. Thank you, James, and hopefully we can have you back again. And I would love to see you guys again tomorrow night, for we have another great show. And again, have a great evening. Thank you for watching America in Black and White, where we're coloring conversations on America's canvas. Have a good evening.